Advantage Athletic Therapy, personalized rehabilitation programs with a whole body approach. Enjoy the podcast.
It's April 2026. It's the Healthy, Well, and Wise podcast with Barb. Hey, Barb, how are you?
Hey, I'm great, Dave. How are you?
Good. It's good to see you, catch up.
You as well?
What's our
Yeah.
topic this month?
Well, I really wanted to share something close to our family's hearts. Um, our son-in-law lost his dad recently, and it really hit home because we weren't just the in-laws. From the very first time that we met his parents, the sense of belonging was just absolutely incredible. And that intertwining, that interweaving of family, it's been a really beautiful progression. And family events, it's like Christmas we spent together, Easter, all of the things, it's not just the shared grandchildren. It's not just because our children married each other, but it blossomed into a really, really beautiful relationship. So losing Gary was really, really sad because he truly was one of the good ones. He would have been 82 this year. And to look back at the course of he and Edie's lives and all of the lives that they've touched because of the people who they are and their generosity and their givingness, despite that they've had a really, really rough last few years. But that giving never stopped. Their house burning down to the ground. They were grateful that they got out alive. People wanted to create a GoFundMe for them. And they're like, please, no, we have insurance. We don't need that. Please, whatever you planned on donating, these are the people in our region that are needy. We'd rather that
Wow.
that money went, it's just, those are the kind of people. And so, when Gary was diagnosed with cancer last year, just before Christmas, things transpired really, really quickly. And it was a really sad and difficult thing for their family and ours, because over the years they embraced my whole side of the family. They adopted all of us and welcomed us in. I think that sharing of spaces with people that you recognize they have the same appreciation for what you're sharing with them, it really creates a strong bond that I think is a beautiful thing.
It talks to a lot of the character of your probably your daughter and your son-in-law, mutual folks that sort of see, the value in both those relationships, and to come together as two families and sort of merge into one. It's really cool that, you
Yeah.
guys had that opportunity with them to share. And it's like you said, when you're spending all that time with them over the holidays, you know the rhythm of the family, right? You understand, and they're welcoming to you. You might have different views on things, but it's a welcoming environment that has been,
Mhm.
been there for years.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And Gary's personality, being raised in Halliburton, and his mom bought a bay in that area in 1935. So they ran the Roberts General Store right in Halliburton. And on their weekends, they would boat across to the cottage and spend their time there. It's in a time and a place where, Gary grew up delivering groceries from the time he was 5 or 6 years old on his bicycle. And so when we did get together, it struck me that whenever they came to our place or we first got there, it was always Mrs. Anstead and I'd be Mr. Roberts. And it just was something that really, that old fashioned sort of greeting wasn't lost on me. And yeah, just enjoying those times with the families and the appreciation for nature. When you grow up in Halliburton, you hunt and you fish, but you do that to put food on the table. It's not to say there won't ever be some sport within it, but it's actually about survival. And just seeing those simple ways that meant everything to him. The respect of everybody that was in his life, he held in a regard and with a respect, with a patience. And, I mean, he was a storyteller for certain. He was a storyteller. Sometimes you heard the same story many, many times, but it's something that you did with graciousness, that you actively listened because his giving nature was such that you appreciated that. And then when people are gone, you don't hear those stories anymore. So it's leaning into those times and really valuing that person.
The sense of community, I want to touch on that because I always found that folks that grew up, if you spend your whole life in one area, you know everybody and everybody knows you. And that respect becomes even that much more important because you realize, like you said earlier, he recognized the importance of helping each other in the community and accepting new people coming in like yourselves and just making you welcome. I think that's
Yes.
part of something that we're missing in society today sometimes is that warm greeting of feeling like this is okay, this is a safe space, or this is a nice place where I want to
Yes.
hang out.
Yeah, I think that when you have the benefit of growing up in a more countrified manner, there is a sense of, you can recognize that there may be qualities in the people around you that maybe you have to be mindful of, but at the same time, there's a knowledge and there's a support system that's built in with that
Yeah.
that I don't think you get that when you grow up in you know, a city where everybody is autonomous. So I think that when we have that kind of upbringing, it helps us maybe be a little bit more open and receptive and just respectful of the differences in people for certain. But yeah, I think that that openness is something that we need more of in this day and age. But I think that there's a lot of distrust that is out there, and it's hard sometimes to wiggle past that to allow yourself to be open and give in the sense that people were in times past.
I think too, describing Gary to me is there seems to be that warmth of knowing who he was and that
Yes.
pride of showing you where he lived. I think those two things too are something that you kind of lose track of, or as society goes so quickly now, we forget that those little elements make such a big impact, obviously on you and your husband when you met him and his wife, right? Because there's that
Yes.
acceptance and just being friends first. Your kids got married, but there's this friendship that was developed
Mhm.
and that
Yeah.
bond became super strong, and it just the respect for where he and his wife lived and the beauty that they obviously enjoyed where they live. Like, I mean,
Mhm.
that's a life that's really good. Like, that's a life where you get to do what you wanna do and enjoy those moments with the people you
Mm.
love.
You do. You do. And it's brought, a different understanding to my husband and I of who the man is that our daughter has married,
Yeah,
right? Because you have this benefit of understanding these people on a different level and understanding, and the wedding song where Drew danced with his mom was a simple man. And it so apropos, right? It couldn't have been a better choice. And it's that simplicity. We're not talking cognitively or anything like that by any means, because, incredibly, incredibly learned people, but that understanding that underneath all of it, that it is the people in the relationship and their connection to each other and to their communities, that is truly where it all is. Because if it's stripped away from you by a house fire or
yeah.
by cancer or by, some other tragedy, it is that connection that gets us through and helps get us back on our feet to be able to honor the ones that have gone before us.
I think too, the impact, like, when you were
Mhm.
telling me a little bit about the family, you were smiling. So,
Mhm.
the impact's right there. Like, you can see it, like you said, coming through tragedies and all that, but if someone could put a smile on your face when you talk about them, you know what I mean? Those imprints don't fade. You know what I mean? Those
No,
memories, those positive
no,
memories will stick with you for the rest of your life. And I always find that that's kind of the joy. I mean, when people pass, and you and I both had this in our lives, obviously, that mean a lot to us, but it's I always, go to that memory that was positive or that reflection that I have that the lesson they taught me. And I think that's where you get grounded again to understand the value of people around you and your community and the
yeah.
family.
Yes. Yes, most definitely. And it was, with the funeral and the celebration of life, and I had been speaking with Edie and was thinking about the times we'd spent together. And then she had said, yes, we lost all our pictures in the fire. And it was just like, yes, of course you did. Of course
Yeah.
you did. And so I spent 7 hours on my laptop
Finding
going through every in the last 22 years of the times our families had come together either in our space or in their spaces to find anything that I could that they could add to the video, and then sent that off to my son-in-law and let him choose from there. But it was just like, wow, like that was
hits
just,
you,
you think about it, but you don't think about it until
right?
a time like that. So yeah, had some beautiful, beautiful ones that he still had up in Halliburton. And so getting to see him as like a little child, and he's got a deer right, you know,
Right there, right?
it's just,
Man,
man, just such a rich and beautiful life, but just one of the good ones. And I think that, in all the times that we did spend together with our families, that I know he knew that we loved him, even though it wasn't a blood relationship. It's a relationship that grew and grew over the years, and a profound respect and a mutual admiration for the spaces that were important and the people that were important, and life well lived.
it's important too, eh? Like, I mean, obviously, your daughter and his son and their son got married, but you may never have met. Like in another scenario,
Yeah.
and I always look
Mhm.
at it that way and go, "Wow, we're really lucky we had that opportunity to spend time with this person and get to know them, right?" Because I think that sometimes as the human race goes, we forget how important that meeting new people and having an experience, a positive experience, is how important it can be in the long term of our lives and
Yeah.
lessons learned. So,
Yes.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
And this'll be our first year in many years without the Christmas letter from Gary. And he would summarize, he was a much better storyteller than he was a poet, the sentiment and the thought that he put into a task that brought delight to him.
Yeah.
And just to see that recap, and even the year of the house fire, he didn't let that slide. You know, it was important to him. It was, connecting the dots in all of the different activities or with the friends or whatever. It always felt good to see your name on some month in there of the
Hanging
activities
out.
that you shared together. But yeah, so it felt important for me to make this one, you know, about Gary and our families, and just to take that time to honor one of the good ones, and one of the ones that we hope that we are blessed with in our lives.
And I think it's important to remind folks to have those conversations, right? Like, we all lose people, but it's important that we don't, we remember them, like I said earlier, with a smile and what they brought to the table, not only for us, but maybe what we gave them, you know,
Yes.
and help them
Yes,
along in their
hopefully.
lives.
Hope.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm looking forward to reading it in the April Hub. Thanks for taking the time to do this and talk about this. I mean, it's not an easy thing to talk about, but again, like we stated earlier, it's an important thing to share and remind folks to, talk to people, enjoy it, enjoy those moments. Yeah,
Stay connected for
it's not
sure.
going to last forever, and we need to appreciate those times we have.
Right.
Thanks for doing this, Barb.
Thanks, Dave.